Hey everybody, it's Shark Scrapper. We're going to do a little something different on this Wednesday's bite, and we're going to focus in on I-series CPUs. You frequently hear people in the e-waste industry talk about them, so let's go from start to finish. We're going to pull an I-series CPU out of here. I'm going to show you what I do with it, how I package it up, send it off to board sort, and then we'll see what board sort does with it on the other end. I'm going to speed through a couple of things. You know, we just took the side panel off of this computer, and I've already unscrewed the heatsink from here. So when we pull the heatsink off, you see this is your first giveaway here. This kind of bent arm will almost always, well, every time I found a bent arm, I found an I-series CPU. Now I have once or twice found an I-series CPU in a socket that had a straight arm, but they're the exception to the rule. All right, now it's really easy. Push down, slide that over like that. The socket comes up, or the bracket comes up, and here's your CPU. Now, you want to be very careful with these CPUs when you find them, because they're worth a lot of money, or they can be. In this case, we are dealing with, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. I can see it. It's an i5 4590. I'll try to get you a better picture of that. Now, sometimes you might need a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe to see this. You've got to hold the light just right, but there are two important identifiers, the i5-4590 and then this SR code over here. And you want to hold it from the edges like I'm doing right now. You also want to be very careful of what's on this side. Look how tiny those little MLCCs are. So here's a zoomed in picture of that back side. Give you a better idea of how tiny those MLCCs are. Don't worry, you don't have to use static protection or those kind of things, but you do want to be careful with these and protect that backside. If you damage any of that, you risk making this a non-functional CPU. Excuse me, got a frog in my throat. You've seen this on previous videos. I have them labeled just to make it easier for me to figure out where to put them. I could probably even use more bins because I realize I have some that are not represented, some I-series types. All right, so we said this was an i5 4590, i5 4, so it goes in here, and you can see I've got that, I've got padding in here, I've got them separated. When I get a third one in there, then I'll put another layer of padding in there. And when I have enough of them, see, there's one there, there's another one there, there's the couple there. When I have enough of them in here that I feel like it's a good load, I will go ahead and take the drawers, go to the office, and start the process of preparing them for shipment to board sort. So why don't we get on with doing that? I set it down like this so that I have an idea where the center of the index card is. And then I simply write on here the CPU name. This is an i3 2100. And the CPU S code is SR05C. In order to package this up so that it's protected, what I then do is I take the index card, flip it over, put the CPU in the middle, fold the card over, and fold the other flap over. Now I've got a nice little pocket here, and we just come in here, give it a little staple, give it another little staple, and what you see now is a nice little package that will protect itself, that provides a little bit of padding. It protects those MLCCs on the backside, and we can send this off to BoardSort in a box with a bunch of other CPUs. And I'll show you what that looks like. But the other thing that this lets me do is it lets me cross-check. Once I've got these all laid out, I can do a quick cross-check with my spreadsheet and then enter that into the sell sheet or the invoice part of the BoardSort website. So after I have checked the CPU, I enter it into my spreadsheet. That way I've got each one listed, and then I can go in, take the BoardSort site, and I'll show you how to get to that on BoardSort, pull up the price, put that in my spreadsheet, run the summation out. Now I know how much the BoardSort website should end up with. It's a double check for me to make sure that I have entered the correct number of CPUs into the right spots on the BoardSort sell sheet or invoice sheet. So you'll see how that all works here in a minute, how it all comes together. You probably have come up with your own techniques. You don't need to use Excel. For me, that's just a common tool that I'm very comfortable using. You could do this all on a piece of paper, without any trouble as well. All right, so let's go in and look at how I fill out the spreadsheet. Okay, so as you can see, I have started to fill out a new spreadsheet for this set of CPUs that I'm working on right now. This CPU that we just identified is an i3, and it auto-populates because I've already put in one of these. The CPU S code was SR05C, one of them. The price off of BoardSort you saw was $3. And then in order to do the math, this is pretty easy. We're just going to go up here, grab this cell, we're going to copy that cell, and we're going to go ahead and put it in a bunch of them because I got a bunch of these to do, so we'll just have it run out. We click on the function, and now the formula is put in. What you can see that does for me is it automatically will multiply this cell times this cell. So when I'm populating this thing, it will come out here. Now, there's a reason why doing an Excel spreadsheet is very useful. When I'm all done, I will add up all of the prices that I get, and I'll get some bottom line value here. When I put the number into the BoardSort invoice sheet, I should get the same number. I can also do a count. Here we'll do a summation at the end. That'll tell me how many CPUs I have put in this, and again, that count should match the count that I will get from the BoardSort cell sheet as well. It's just a couple of double checks to help me make sure that I have accounted for each one of the CPUs that is going to go in this box. Now, the less valuable ones, the $3 range, you're saying, all right, it's $3. But remember, some of these can be over $100 a piece, so you want to make sure you've accounted for each one of those $100. All right, when you land on the boardsort.com webpage, this is what you're going to see. One of the first things that you'll want to do is log in. That happens right up here. I'm already logged in, of course, as Shark Scrapper. If you don't have an account, it's very easy to go ahead and set up an account. It's free to set up the account. Highly recommended. That's the only way you can sell, is to have an account, obviously. All right. From this page, whether you log in or not, you'll be able to see the payout rates, and you'll be able to click here to sell material if you are selling material. You can also go into the discussion forum, and oh, look at that. There's some really informative videos here to help you understand how to sell the BoardSort. So payout rates, if we click on the payout rates, here we see circuit board categories, RAM, CPUs. This is just what they're offering, and this is very much what it looks like when you're going to sell to them. But what you'll notice is in this CPU category, you don't see anything here for the tested chip buying program. So you may be scratching your head wondering, how do you complete that? Well, let's go back to the home page, and we go down to the discussion forum, and right down here we see tested chip buying in the forum. When we click on the tested chip buying, you want to go down to topics, and right here you'll see tested CPU buying. When you click on that, you will, the first thing that you'll see, of course depends on the size of your screen, but what you're going to see here is a discussion of the tested chip buying program, how it works, what you have to do, what you have to pay attention to. They will also have a nice little picture down here that will help you to figure out how to identify the chip. This is very similar to what I showed here. Well, because they're the same CPU chips, right? So you'll see the number here and the S code down here. But in order to sell it, what you want to do is click on this link right here, the chips/chip quote. When you do that, it will take you to the chip quote page. First column will be the CPU name, then you have the CPU S code, the price, and then a block where you put in the number of that particular chip. If you do not see your particular chip listed here, especially if it's one of the newer ones like a 5 or a 7, don't worry, send Chris an email. Say, Chris, I've got this chip. I can't find it on your tested chip buying program. Is it one that you would buy? And if so, how much? And Chris will get back to you with a quote for that chip. But I've only had a very few that I've ever not been able to find. And Chris was very quick to get back to me with a quote on those. Now, I'm putting together a box of CPUs right now. So instead of going through here and creating some fictional bunch of CPUs to see how this works, let's go in and do a real box load of CPUs to sell to BoardSort. We see that we have 20 of the i3 2100s. So we just go over to the BoardSort sell sheet for the chips or the chip quotes. We see it starts out with the i3 530s. These are all first gen boards here. So let's go to i3s, and then we go i3 2100. Here we are. i3 2100 SR05 Charlie right there. Those are $3 a piece, and we have 20 of them. All right, next we go to the i3 2120. There we go, and we have 2 of those. We put 2 in there. All right, there we go. Well, I think you've got the picture on, just you scroll through, you find the chip that you have, you put in the quantity, and then once you've finished entering all those quantities, what you're going to end up with is something that looks like this. At the bottom of the page, and you want to check either PayPal or check, and then you will click Submit to submit your quote. At the top of the quote, you see the timestamp that the quote is valid for. It's very important that you ship the package before the date expires so that you keep these rates. You'll see your name and the address that they're shipping it to. And then you see the list of what you are selling to BoardSort. Now, I want to zoom in on the summary of the quote here, because what you'll see here is the CPU name, the working price. I need to reemphasize, this is the price if they test them and they are working, right? If they don't work, then you're just going to get to pin the CPU rate. Scrap rate. So the price if they're working, the quantity that you're selling them, and then what the payout is. And then you go through each line for all the different types of CPUs you're selling, and it adds it all up, and it tells you what the total payout will be if they are all working. Now, if you've done this also on your own spreadsheet, these two numbers should match. Your total payout, their total payout. It's a good quality check just to make sure that you haven't forgotten or miscounted or something of that nature. So if they all work, that's $295. If correct, agree and submit. Press agree and submit. And now you're back here on this page. Now remember, this is going to be your quote, and this is, they've got all their caveats and where you need to send it and all that kind of stuff. Very important that you pay attention to all of this material here. What I like to do at this point is I like to go here and say print. And then I will print out 2 copies of this. One will go in the box. It's very important that you put either a copy of this or a copy of the email that you'll get from Chris in the box, so they know who the material is from. And then the other one is for my records. Now, you will also get an email from Chris that will summarize all of this. So you either need to put a copy of this into your box, or you need to put a copy of the email into your box. This is very, very important. Chris has told me that he has actually received boxes that had no indication of who it was, the invoice number, or who to send the money to. You can imagine their frustration. What do they do with that? You want to make sure you're getting paid. I mean, we've got $295 on the line here, so don't forget to put that piece of paper in the box with your CPUs. Let me see. Is there anything that I should repeat? Oh yeah, don't forget to put the invoice printout in with the box with your CPUs. Should I say it a third time? I don't think so. I think you get the idea. All right, we started here, we boxed it up, we got our invoice, we shipped it off to Chris. Let's see what happens next.
Shark sighted today, scrap at your own risk. Oh man, I hope I don't get bit opening up this box. Hey Shark, your CPU package has made the swim up north, and we're about to open it up and find out what's inside. And right on top, we've got ourselves a Shark sighted today, scrap at your own risk sticker, and we'll set that aside. Inside the box, we find lots of paper padding to keep the CPUs comfortable during their journey. And these are miscellaneous CPUs that we corresponded about and determined that they have value, but they were not listed on our website's price list. So he included those inside the box for us to take care of. And here we have the invoice that was generated on the website, and it contains your contact information, your payment preference, very important, and it also has a list of the CPUs that I can expect to find in the box. 20 i3 2100s, that's a chunk, along with a list of a bunch of other CPUs. So that'll be a decent payout for the Shark. So can't wait to get started on that. Now diving into the box, we're finding bags of alike CPUs. They're all grouped together based on the type that they are. And here we have, these must be the 2100s. Oh yeah, a big old chunk of them. In fact, what do you say we work on the 2100s here? First thing you'll see is Shark took the time to individually wrap each one of these CPUs. He made an envelope out of paper, and he stapled both ends together, keeping the CPU inside. Just make sure you leave enough room for a pair of scissors to be able to nip off the end, allowing the CPU to slide out if you do use this technique. Protecting the CPUs is important because, as you see, we look at each and every one of these under magnification to make sure that all of the little capacitors are still on the back of the chip. And these are very sensitive. They can fall off very easily by being banged around inside your packaging. So make sure you're not just tossing them in a box or a bag. Give them the respect they deserve and package them up nicely. You'll also want to make sure that they're free of any dirt, debris, paste. If you find it on there, it's real easy to brush off. We use a toothbrush sometimes, and we'll just kind of get in there and brush the capacitors clean. Also, a Q-tip, a little bit of alcohol is good for cleaning off the gold pads on the bottom. You just want to make sure that it looks good, and also we need to make sure that there's no contamination on the CPU that could foul up our testing machines, because that would slow things down for sure. You can do a lot of this at home and save yourself the disappointment of having me give you an email telling you that, hey, a lot of your CPUs didn't pass initial inspection because they were missing capacitors. You can do that at home. If it's got a bunch of missing stuff on it, probably not going to pass. So hey, what do you say we go into Mako speed here, as Shark would say, and burn through the rest of these CPUs? And now that we've inspected all 20, and of course they all passed, excellent condition, Shark, we'll just verify that in fact they're all there. And he's supposed to have 20. Yep, there's 20 here. So awesome. We'll now take those 20 chips and put them over on our test cart. These are all the chips that are on their way to our testing room down the hall. So we'll wheel this into there where we have over 100 machines that are capable of testing pretty much any CPU out there. In fact, we have multiple instances of each just in case we run into problems. So we'll let these sit here for the technicians to work on and wait for the results, and we'll let you know how it went. Well, the test results are in. Congratulations, Shark. All of your CPUs have passed testing, and you will be paid the entire quoted amount. I just want to thank you for your business to BoardSort.com, and I especially want to thank you for all that you have done for the scrapping community at large. Keep on scrapping and keep on swimming. Take care, Shark.
Thank you, Chris, for helping to make this video even more interesting and informative for our audience. Folks, I can't tell you how much it meant to me to have Chris take the time to put together that little bit there that showed us what happens to all these things when they end up over there at BoardSort.com. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. That's the little red button in the lower right-hand corner, or it'll be the icon that's in the middle of the links that are popping up here to take you to more of my e-waste scrapping videos. Have a great day, everybody. Be safe. We'll see you on the next one.